Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS NBA Friday. We got, I think, 10 games on the board. As far as Thursday, I think I had a fun day. BYU money line at plus 145 or whatever it was. That was my biggest bet of the day. That hit. I got the Magic. I lost the Kings. Lost Ole Miss. Oh, I got a Kentucky money line live bet late. That was awesome. Yeah, it was a good day. You know what the backbreaker was? I had DePaul money line plus 575. They lost in double overtime. Plus 575. That's back-to-back nights. I had UCF money line at plus 450. Lost in overtime. And then the next night I took DePaul money line plus 575. Lost in double overtime. Great basketball game to watch. It was a fun day. So hopefully this weekend is just as fun. Got a lot of basketball on deck. Let's talk about it.
I mean, is Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points?
I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get this to us. Indiana's on the road in Philadelphia. These teams have played 3 times this year. The Sixers took the first one back in October, but the Pacers have taken the last 2 by double digits. I do not need to tell you that Philadelphia has been one of the worst teams in the NBA recently because you already know that. But just to show you how bad it's been, in the last 10 games, the Sixers are 26th offensively, 27th defensively, 15th in strength of schedule. Pacers are 6th offense, 16th defense, 21st in strength of schedule. Now, you might say, hey, the Sixers can win the rebounding battle here. And I mean, that's true. Indiana's really struggled on the boards recently. In the last 10 games, 23rd offensively, 28th defensively. Pacers struggling to rebound. And I mean, Miles Turner's been back for a while, so they can't use that excuse anymore. Pacers are a bad rebounding team right now. Not that the Sixers have been a good rebounding team. They've just been slightly better than the Pacers. So I guess you could say, yeah, the Sixers might win the rebounding battle in this one. That being said, does that matter? Look at the Sixers' record against the number against bad rebounding teams. Philadelphia against the bottom 10 in offensive rebounding rate this year, 5-12-1 against the spread. Philadelphia against the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding rate, 4-12-1 against the spread. So, okay, the Sixers might win the rebounding battle. Doesn't matter. They're still not covering. So it doesn't exactly give me a ton of hope, knowing the Sixers are probably not even equipped to take advantage of the Pacers' biggest weakness, which is rebounding. Also, when we're talking about the Sixers' defense, they've been so bad, and specifically in transition, they've been lit up. They've been a terrible transition defense all year. They've also really struggled against the pick and roll, 2 things the Pacers do a lot of. One thing I will say for Philadelphia is they have done a little bit of a better job defending the three-point shot. I mean, they're 25th in the last 10 games, 20th in the last 5 games. They're still bottom 11 in the NBA in the last 5 games, but that's much better. I mean, they were the worst three-point defense in the NBA for a while, so I guess they've been slightly better against the three-point shot, but I mean, that's razor thin. I don't see any reason the Pacers can't do basically whatever they want against the Sixers defense. Injuries in this one, Pacers should be at full strength. Nobody on the report for Indiana. That is not the case with Philadelphia, as I'm sure you know. No Maxey, no Lowry, no Lonnie Walker, no Paul George. You got Justin Edwards questionable. You got Andre Drummond questionable. Yeah. Philly's an absolute mess, which is why on the other side of the ball, when we're talking about the Sixers offense, I didn't mention it. I don't really know what to expect. The Pacers defense, nothing crazy, nothing really that scares you, but I don't know how you can count on Philadelphia to score points here. So when it comes to placing a bet in this game, I would love to take the Pacers, but 11.5 is just a little steep. I'm going to need Drummond and Justin Edwards ruled out for me to consider laying 11.5 with Indiana. So unfortunately, it's just going to be a pass for me here. Boston is on the road in Miami. These 2 teams have played twice this year, and the Celtics have not had problems at all with this Heat team. They won both games. They won by 19 points and 18 points. Both those games also stayed under the total. So will the Celtics and under trend continue here in this game in Miami? Well, right off the bat, we know we're more than likely going to see a slow-paced game here. In the last 10, Boston and Miami are 29th and 30th in pace. So in the last 10 games, these are the 2 slowest paced teams in the NBA. Miami against slow-paced teams this year. Against the bottom 5 in pace, 3-8 to the under. Against the bottom 10 in pace, 8-14 to the under. So a pretty strong lean to the under before we get started. When it comes to matching these 2 teams up on the court, honestly, there's one question we need to answer. Is the Miami Heat Heat defense back because they're starting to look pretty good. In the last 10 games, we'll start on the Boston side. 5th offensively, 11th defensively, 5th in strength of schedule. So the Celtics have played pretty well. Look at that Miami defense. 17th offensively in the last 10 games, 8th defensively, they're 1st in defensive efficiency in the last 5 games, 12th in strength of schedule. So don't look now, but this Miami Heat defense is starting to look pretty good, and Boston has not been profitable against good defenses this year. Celtics against top 10 defenses this year, 7-12-1 against the spread. And check this out. This is actually pretty interesting here. So in the last 5 games, Miami's 4th in the NBA in defensive efficiency against the three-point shot, which is obviously huge when you're playing the Celtics. They take more threes than any other team in the NBA. So the Heat have looked good against a three-point shot in the last 5 games. Here's the interesting part. Who were Miami's last 5 opponents? Washington, Cleveland, Minnesota, Chicago, Charlotte. All 5 of those teams are top 10 in the NBA in three-point frequency. In fact, 3 of them are in the top 5. So Miami's playing great defense against the three-point shot against three-point shooting teams right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Boston Celtics offense is having problems scoring points in this game. Now, the good news for Boston is on the other side of the court because the Heat offense, I mean, it looks pretty bad. They had a hot stretch of three-point shooting there, but that seems to be gone. I very seriously doubt they're going to be able to consistently score points down low in this one. Boston's got an elite interior defense, which means if you're trying to back Miami here, you're really relying on those three-point shots falling. And on top of that, the Celtics are 1st in the NBA in defensive efficiency against spot-up shooters, which just so happens to be an important part of the Miami offense. Now, here's where this one gets confusing. Injuries on the Boston Celtics side, what the hell is this? Basically, the entire starting lineup is listed as questionable. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, all on the report, all listed as questionable. The Celtics do have a game on deck the very next day on the road in Brooklyn. So right after this game, they get on a flight from Miami to Brooklyn. So maybe they're going to rest a couple of pieces. On the Miami side, it's just Jovic. Other than that, the Heat should be at full strength here. Like I said, I like the matchup for the Heat. I would love to take this big number with Miami at home. Don't really trust the offense. I have this one at Boston minus 10.5 if everyone plays. So give me 2 of those pieces out. Give me Jaylen Brown out and give me Porzingis out. And I might consider taking Miami plus the points. Obviously, if they're rolled out, the line will probably move. I like the matchup for Miami, just wasn't able to get there. Clippers are on the road in Atlanta. These two teams met once this year, was back in January. Clips handled them. 131-105 was the final score. That one was in LA, and this one is in Atlanta. Now, the Clippers have been winning some games. They're 4-1 straight up in their last 5. Not that they've looked amazing, but let's give them some credit. They're winning some basketball games. Specifically on the offensive side of the ball, they're starting to play pretty well. They've got an offensive rating of 120.6 in their last 6 games, so maybe they're starting to find ways to score points without Norman Powell on the floor. And honestly, I don't see any reason why that doesn't continue here. I mean, Atlanta can't even spell defense. They're 29th in defensive rating in the last 10 games, so the Clips have been scoring points, and that should continue here. Now, on the other side of the court, it gets a little bit tougher. We know this year's Atlanta team loves to attack the interior. They're actually 1st in the NBA in paint frequency in the last 10 games. So in the last 10 games, no team has attacked the paint more frequently than the Hawks, but this Clippers defense happens to be elite at keeping their opponents out of the interior. They're 3rd in frequency in the last 10 games, 2nd in the full season. The Clippers defense does not let you get in the paint, and Atlanta has not been profitable against defenses like this. Against the 5 defenses in frequency, in terms of paint frequency, 8-14 against the spread. The truth about this Clippers defense is they're really struggling with jump shooters right now, but this is not the 2023 Atlanta Hawks. They're not taking many jump shots. Injuries on the Clippers side, still no Norman Powell. He's been ruled out. Ben Simmons listed as questionable, so the Clips might be getting Ben Simmons back in the rotation. We'll have to wait and see. On the Hawks side, it's just Clint Capella listed as questionable. Trae Young is also on the report. He's listed as probable. As far as betting this game, I'm on the Clips here. I got it at -3. I think it's at -3.5 now. I personally have this one at about 6, and that's without Ben Simmons. Not that Ben Simmons would move the needle a whole lot, but he's a good rebounder. He can play some defense. So, yeah, I have this at about 6. So I like this bet. I'm on the Clippers here, -3. Next game. Charlotte is on the road in San Antonio. I mean, I'm just going to skip this one. Now that Darren Fox is out, I really don't know what to expect from the Spurs. Kind of lean towards the Hornets. I saw a 6.5 earlier. I did almost take it, but just going to pass it for now. Next. Update in this one. The line is now down to 3. I had my finger on the trigger. Hornets plus 6.5. I wish I bet it. Unfortunately, I did not. Next game. Dallas is on the road in Houston. These teams have played 3 times this year. The Rockets took the first 2, but Dallas did get them last month in Dallas. That being said, that was a very strange game. Fred VanVleet was out, so VanVleet didn't play, and during the game, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and Şengün all left the game with injuries. So Dallas got the win, but it was a very strange game. As far as how these two teams are playing right now, Houston hasn't been playing their best, but they have been covering the number, and let's be honest, they still look miles better than the Mavericks. In the last 10 games, Dallas is 29th offensively, 20th defensively. That's against the 17th strongest schedule. The Rockets are 6-3-1 against the spread in their last 10, 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. They're 18th offensively, 7th defensively, so the Rockets have been playing some defense, 20th in strength of schedule. Now, I know if you look at the Mavericks' offensive numbers over the last few games, they have been scoring some points. I mean, I don't want to take credit away from them. The offense has been somewhat efficient. That being said, I mean, look at the last 3 games. They played the Spurs twice and the Suns. That's some of the worst defense the NBA has to offer right now. Trying to score on the Rockets defense in Houston is a completely different story. So yeah, I get it. The Mavs offense has looked okay the last few games, but I don't trust them to consistently score points in this one. And then you add on the fact that this is a complete landslide in the rebounding department. It's not even close. Dallas is a bottom 5 rebounding team on both sides of the floor right now with the current injuries. In the last 10 games, the Mavericks are 28th in offensive rebounding rate, 26th in defensive rebounding rate. The Rockets are 1st and 8th. So we're talking about one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA against one of the worst. And the Rockets have taken advantage of these types of matchups on the season against bad rebounding teams, against bottom 10 on the offensive side, 13-7 against the spread, against bottom 10 rebounding teams on the defensive side, 17-10 against the spread. Injuries in this one, obviously the Dallas Mavericks are just a crime scene right now. You got PJ Washington listed as questionable, Dante Exum listed as questionable, still missing the entire front court, Davis, Lively, Gafford, obviously Kyrie's out for the year. Jaden Hardy has also been ruled out for the Mavs. On the Rockets side, it's just Thompson. Other than that, the Rockets should be good to go. And I bet Houston here. I laid the big number. I think might have got an 11. I actually forget what I even got, but yeah, I love the matchup for Houston at home. They'll dominate the glass on both sides of the floor. Defense should look good. Mavs should really struggle to score. Houston should win comfortably here. I laid the points next game. Cleveland is on the road in Memphis. These two teams just met a couple weeks back. It was February 23rd. Cleveland got the win, but they did not cover. The final score was 129-123, so we saw a high-scoring game. Now, Darius Garland did not play in this one. So how these two teams look recently, well, Cleveland has now won 15 games in a row. 15 consecutive wins for the Cavs. That being said, they are just 2-4 against the spread in their last 6, so they haven't been covering as of late. But the good news is that ain't shit compared to the slump Memphis is in against the number. If you've been betting the Grizzlies in the last few weeks, you are probably on the brink of bankruptcy right now. Memphis is now 1-11-1 against the spread in their last 13 games, and their only cover was on a last-second three-point shot against a Mavericks team that's missing everybody and that's getting beat by everybody. So you take out that one game, and the Grizzlies haven't covered a number since February 11th, before the All-Star break. The Memphis defense has looked absolutely terrible, but Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the injury report listed as questionable, so they might be getting Jaren Jackson Jr. back. Maybe he comes to save the day. I mean, he is their most important defensive piece. Now, when it comes to betting this game, obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. potentially returning. What can we really expect from him if he does play? And then you got Donovan Mitchell ruled out. I mean, there's just too many question marks here. Obviously, I'm not touching Memphis. This line is suspiciously low. So I guess Memphis or pass, just playing the sharp line, but I'm not doing this. Next, Orlando is on the road in Minnesota. T-Wolves beat up on this Magic team earlier in the season. 104-89 was the final score. That was in Orlando. Now, in that game, the Magic had no Paolo Banchero, no Jalen Suggs, who is obviously still out, and no Franz Wagner. Obviously, we have to mention how the Magic are on a back-to-back. They just played a game in New Orleans earlier tonight. They won comfortably on the season on 0 days rest. They're 5-5 against the spread, 4-6 straight up. Now, what do we think about this matchup? Well, on paper, theoretically, Orlando should be a very tough matchup for this Timberwolves team. They put a ton of pressure on the perimeter. They're great against spot-up shooters. Actually, they lead the NBA in points per game allowed from spot-up shooters. That's a tough matchup for Minnesota. Here's the part that worries me a little bit, though. Orlando's perimeter defense just hasn't looked like Orlando's perimeter defense recently. The last few games, the last 5 games, they're 16th in frequency, 27th in efficiency against the three-point shot. That is not Orlando Magic basketball. If I knew we were going to get the normal Orlando Magic defense in this one, I would love this matchup against a Minnesota offense that's been launching threes all year. Orlando loads up on the perimeter, takes those shots away, force Minnesota inside to take contested shots at the rim. That's not what this year's Timberwolves offense wants to do. So I really like the matchup here for Orlando. In terms of injuries, we got Cole Anthony ruled out. Other than that, the Magic should be good to go, with the exception of Jalen Suggs, obviously. On the Minnesota side, we got nobody. Timberwolves should be at full strength for this one. Now, when it comes to placing a bet, everyone's going to hate this one, but the Magic just came through for me last night. I know they're on a back-to-back. I know they've looked bad in a few of their games recently, but I like the matchup for them. We're talking about catching 10.5 points in a game that has a total at 209.5. I took Orlando. I'm on the Magic plus 10.5 here next game. Toronto's on the road in Utah, and I am definitely skipping this one for now. We'll talk about it on the live show, but these two teams have been so crazy with the injury reports recently that I don't trust anything they're putting out right now. So this is a pass for now. Lakers are on the road in Denver, and I'm actually going to skip this one too, but I will say this kind of feels like the prime spot for the Nuggets to get their revenge from a couple weeks back. February 22nd, the Lakers beat up on Denver pretty bad. Now the Nuggets get them at home, no LeBron James, on a back-to-back. Feels like the perfect spot for the Nuggets to just let out their frustration on this Lakers team that just beat them. So, I think this might be a blowout. We'll talk about it on the live show next. So I'm actually out of time. It's super late. As always, we'll go through every single game on the live show at 4 p.m. Eastern time, or you can download the Sauce Network app and go look at Open Bets if you sign up to Sauce Network Plus. Live show, 11 a.m. Eastern time and 4 p.m. Eastern time. Please remember to bet responsibly. Let's have a good one. Later.